Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Yiling Li. Today I'm presenting my study, Music Education as Humanity Education Across Cultures in Contemporary Approaches. This research originated from a paper that I wrote during my first semester at the USF, in which I explored music education from both perspectives of social sciences and the humanities. You can see outline here. That early inquiry revealed that scholars' views on music education often different based on their educational backgrounds and institutional affiliation. For example, those trained in conservatories may emphasize aesthetic values and pedagogical thinkings, such as me, whereas scholars situated in universities often approach music education with broader interdisciplinary concerns. From the perspective of social science, music education is understood within empirical frameworks grounded in methodologies from psychology, sociology, and anthropology as it relates to human behavior and social relations. Conversely, the humanities approach draws on traditions such as ethnomusicology, musicology, philosophy, and classical thought, including both ancient Chinese and Greek philosophies, emphasizing interpretive, ethical, and cultural dimensions of music as a humanistic practice. But still, the majority of music education being placed under the music, the arts, the humanities because of the taxonomy of disciplines. You can obviously find when you search music education in every university websites, it's always under the College of Arts or the humanities. So this paper was the extension, especially the focus on the humanities, the philosophical perspectives. The idea in this paper that positions music not solely as an artistic and aesthetic endeavor, but as a formative process for cultivating empathy, cultural understanding, and moral reflection. Drawing on philosophers like John Dewey, Jorgensen, and insights from early Chinese philosophy, music education holds the potential to shape socially conscious individuals capable of engaging meaningfully with a complex, interconnected world. As the diagram suggests, music serves as both a mirror and bridge. It reflects the diversity of human experience while simultaneously connecting learners to shared values and ethical concerns. Music education offers more than aesthetic enrichment. It becomes a humanistic endeavor that fosters the development of the whole person. Through deliberate integration of humanistic values into curriculum and pedagogy, we can reimagine the music classroom as a space where technical proficiency meets reflective inquiry and where musical engagement becomes a medium for nurturing a deep sense of humanity. So in this paper, I categorized the three subtitles to clarify. The first one is the main idea, music education as humanity education. In nutshell, MEHE. This concept reimagines the purpose and the practice of music education that frames music as a powerful medium for cultivating human values, empathy, cultural understanding, and moral reflection. It recognizes that music, deeply embedded in human experience, has the capacity to connect individuals across differences and foster personal and social growth. The key logic in this approach is the belief that music education should engage students not just as performers, but as thoughtful participants in society. It asks how music can help students better understand themselves and others, how it can develop their ability to listen, reflect, and respond with care. Drawing from educational philosophers like Dewey and scholars like Jorgensen and Bowman, this idea positions music classroom as democratic spaces where diverse perspectives are heard, where ethical questions are explored, and where the act of making music becomes an inquiry into what it means to be human. And this model also challenges traditional boundaries by advocating for inclusive and culturally responsive curricula. It values musical traditions from around the world and recognize that exposure to diverse forms of expression fosters respect, humility, and a sense of shared humanity. Students are not only learning about music, they are learning through music to navigate complex social realities with sensitivity and awareness. Also, from humanity education, it calls us to see music education as more than a specialized discipline. It is a humanistic practice, one that prepares students to be engaged citizens, capable of empathy, critical thinking, and ethical action, which emphasize the connection, resilience, and transformation. The second one, in this section, the focus shifted from the philosophical foundation of music education to its lived and transformative impact on students' emotional and social development. Music education serves as a space where students not only engage with sound, but also with human stories. Through culturally diverse repertoire and socially relevant composition, students experience music as a lens for understanding others' joys, struggles, and identities, often very different from their own. This direct engagement fosters empathy not as a theoretical goal, but as a felt, practiced reality. It encourages students to move beyond toward genuine connection and enables them to appreciate the humanity embedded in each musical narrative. This idea positions music as a vehicle for social responsibility. Students are invited to question injustice, reflect on their positionalities, and imagine new possibilities for social change. The philosophers like Green, Ferry, and the Confucian educators like Feng, we see how imagination, moral integrity, and communal care are not just abstract values, but teachable through music. And in this model, teachers are not simply instructors, but like facilitators of ethical dialogue, guiding students to become not only musicians, but also compassionate citizens. In a world facing pluralization and environmental urgency, music education holds the potential to nurture individuals who are not just expressive, but responsible, who can listen deeply, act ethically, and contribute to a more interconnected society. The last one is music education as the bridge of cultural awareness through musical diversity. The role of music education turns as a bridge for cultivating cultural awareness through musical diversity. Within the frameworks of humanity education, this perspective emphasizes that musical learning is not only about acquiring skills, but about encountering and appreciating the cultural expressions of others. Music, as a universal and deeply rooted form of human expression, offers a unique space for students to access traditions that are not their own, which broaden their worldview and reinforce the value of inclusivity in a multicultural society. And when we engaging with the diverse musical practices, whether through listening, performance, or discussion, enable students to explore both their own identities and those of others. And this reflective engagement fosters intellectual curiosity, emotional sensitivity, and a respect for cultural plurality. For instance, students familiar with Western music traditions may begin to question why certain tonal systems or rhythmic structures are seen as standard, while others are marginalized. For example, some Chinese instruments, they use numbers to represent re, mi, fa, sol, which is quite very easy, especially for the beginners, but it's not used broadly. Such questioning guides students toward cultural humility and deeper understanding. Music classroom can become a collaborative environment where students and teachers learn from each other. This requires educators to adopt a reciprocal stand, acknowledging their own limitations and creating space for all musical voices to be valued. The engagement in authentic encounters with global musical traditions, students are not only developing intercultural competence, but they are also learning to navigate differences with empathy and mutual respect. In this way, music education prepares learners to live and act meaningfully in an interconnected world where cultural sensitivity and ethical engagement are no longer optional but essential. The conclusion, the broader significance of music education as a vehicle for cultivating a more compassionate and interconnected world. Beyond its role in developing empathy or advocating cultural literacy, music education, when grounded in a humanistic framework, becomes a long-term educational commitment to ethical growth, relational awareness, and etc. So what emerged from this perspective is not only a pedagogical shift, but a philosophical one, a redefinition of music education as a practice embedded in the evolving fabric of communal and global life. What makes this transformation particularly urgent today is the expanding complexity of the world we live in, marked by cultural fragmentation, ecological challenges, and the need for resilient democratic communities. In this context, no longer remain isolated as a specialized discipline. It must participate in shaping individuals who can navigate uncertainty with integrity and imagination. And this vision is supported by culturally responsive pedagogies and philosophies, Western and non-Western alike, that regard education as a moral and civic endeavor. Particularly ancient Chinese traditions such as Confucianism and Taoism offer not only metaphors for musical harmony, but also frameworks for ethical self-cultivation, emotional balance, and relational responsibility. Music education as both a personal and a societal practice. One can empower students and educators to engage with differences, to embrace complexity, and to build lives originated toward justice, wisdom, and care. So for nowadays, music, situated in a humanistic tradition, can guide us toward deeper modes of learning, living, and contributing. Thank you so much. Sorry, I didn't take notes, so all the things just by memory. Aesthetic things, right? Because my background is conservatory, so aesthetics values is more limited. Sometimes when we make some mistakes on stage, they will say, oh, it's not perfect, or the accuracy, but humanistic way. No people can make no mistakes. And also from the social science, it's really straightforward. Sometimes we exclude some data for some strict reasons, but for the humanity things, it's more difficult.